everyone. Great to see you today. Oh, wow. I have something great I want to talk to you about today. Let me know that you're here. Get in the comment section and just let me know that, hey, I'm here because I really want to let you know today that this is just this is a phenomenal thought process and phenomenal session. So today I want to be able to talk to you. Hi, Tanya. Thank you for letting me know you're there. You know, when you're on these videos, you always have to make sure that people are there. Hi, Tavanya. It's good to see you. Beautiful. So my husband decided a couple of weeks ago, he said, listen, why don't we get a nice chessboard and, you know, play chess, right? Well, I've never played chess. My husband played chess, you know, early on. He hasn't played for years, but he was a good chess player. He was a good tennis player. I played checkers. I never played chess. And so I said to him, well, that's a great idea. I was like, we've come to this in this quarantine that we're going to play chess, right? But chess, I've always loved the idea of chess because I'm a strategic thinker. And so a person who is a strategic thinker, chess is a great game. Hi, everybody coming in. Hi, Darren from New York. Hi, Bridget. Hi, Gloria. And so he said, well, let's get a chess game. And so I said, yeah, that'd be great. And you can teach me how to play chess. And so he says, yeah. He said, but you know, you probably should learn something before we start playing. Now, you have to understand, for those of you who know us, my husband is competitive. He says, I'm more competitive, but he's competitive too. And so I looked at him and I just laughed. I said, did you really think I was going to come to a chess game and not have any idea of how to play? Oh, absolutely not. So we laughed about it, and we haven't gotten the chessboard yet, but we're going to get the chessboard. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Gloria. And so we're going to get our chessboard. But what it reminded me of today is win-win structures. And so I really want to talk to you about that today because I see many of us going through life, and certainly I have been there in situations, in circumstances, in relationships, where how do you structure the win-win? Because when I think about it, for over 30 years as a litigator and as an attorney, I had to really think about things in terms of the win for my client, which meant that I really had to think about what the other person that was coming to the table, what they really wanted also. And sometimes that would confuse the client. They would say, Attorney Littles, you know just as much about what they want than what I want. I said, absolutely, it's my job to know that. So I want to just share with you some principles today for you to apply so that you can be win-win in your business, win-win in your relationships, yes, personal relationships, and even win-win in ministry. Because I think that as we look for the win-win, we'll find that we can grow our relationships, we can grow our ministries, and we can grow our businesses. So let's get started. So a lot of times when we think of win-win, you know, win-win has been defined as you receive more than you would have if the person wasn't there. So my life would be more enhanced with you than without you. In business, I can do better with the two of us together than without you. And I think that that's a good definition of win-win, but I also think there's another element of that. And that element is what I'm gaining worth what I might be giving up? And sometimes we don't think about that. We think about the gain, that there's going to be some type of gain, some small gain, some big gain, but we don't really think about the amount of gain and whether or not it's conducive or whether it's enough for me to give up what I might be giving up when I come to do the win-win. We have really been conditioned in our life and by society for the win-lose. If I come to the table, somebody has to win. Hi, Mariana. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. And when you live life like that, when you do business like that, when you do personal relationships like that, when you do ministry like that, everyone loses. So the person that walks away and say, well, I won and you lost, thinks that they've accomplished something, but really you actually have diminished your relationships. You've diminished your business contacts. You've diminished a lot when you come to the table and you're thinking win-lose. Now, there are some people who don't really think about win-lose, but they come to the table just thinking about what they want. And I want to propose to you today that that's a huge mistake. So let's talk about how do we structure a win-win. We structure a win-win. First of all, we have to know what it is we want. You have to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you are destined to lose. If you don't know what you want, you are destined to get off track. You ever look up sometimes and you think, how did I get here? Whether it could be in business, it could be in your personal life, it could be whatever it is. How did I get here? Even if you're walking and you're on the trail or on the path and you're running, you look up and say, where am I? Because you really didn't chart the path before you started running, before you started walking. So the win-win number one, you have to know what it is you want. It seems very simple, but the truth is a lot of times we don't know what we want. And then you have to know what I want, what does it look like? What does that look like for me? Because I could have a situation where two of us can want the same thing, the same end result, but what it looks like for us is very different. So know what you want. Number two, you have to know, and a lot of people will be surprised by this, you have to know what the other person wants or have some idea of what they want. We tend to go to tables in relationships, whether they be business and personal, and we think about what we want. It's about me. I'm thinking about what is it that I want. But if you don't know or have some kind of clue of giving some type of thought to what the other person wants, you are destined to end up in a win-lose relationship. Absolutely. So I always knew when I entered into any type of negotiation, what is it that this other person, this other party might want? What's important to them? Because sometimes what's important to them is not important to me and vice versa. So we have to know that because that's going to play into the structure of the win-win. Know what you want, does that look like, and have some type of clue of what the other person may want. At least think about it. Also think about number two, what do you need to gain? What do I need to gain from this? Because none of us go into situations where we're planning to lose, hopefully. But if you don't plan to win, you will certainly plan to fail. So go in knowing what is it that I'm gaining from this. It will show you whether or not you want to put your time there, whether you Yolanda, whether you want to put your energy there. What is it that I'm gaining from being in this place, in this relationship, in this deal? What is it that I'm gaining? And what am I going to do with what I gain? So that means really having the ability to kind of see the end from the beginning. Like, where is this going? And the way you know sometimes that you're in the wrong, probably relationship is when the person doesn't like the fact that you're asking, well, like, where are we going? Even in a relationship, you have a male, female, and the female says, well, where is this going? And he says, oh, why do you always have to ask, where is this going? Why do you have to put a label on it? Because I need to know where this is going. Hey, L'Oreal, I need to know where this is going. So know where you expect. What is your expected end of where this is going in terms of structuring a win-win? Number three, you have to know your value. And this is huge. You have to know your value, not just as a person, because every one of us have values. We have value as a person, okay? But you have to know your value at that particular table, okay? Not so that you can have a leg up or one up on someone else, but you need to know your value, because if you don't know your value, you will not be able to negotiate a win-win. You will not be able to do it. So know your value. What is my value at this table? There are some tables that the value of your input or the value of the relationship in terms of why you're there is greater at one table than it is at another. And so you need to know that. You need to ask yourself, why is this person, and not in the paranoid way, like, what do you want? But why is this person asked me to the table? and why now? Because sometimes we get excited about the fact the person's asked us to the table, but why are you asking me to the table and why now? Because that's going to help you to kind of determine what the other person wants. You know, a lot of times we think that it's someone else's responsibility to define our win-win, and it really is not. It is our responsibility to define what a win-win looks like for us. We go through life. I know I've been there. You go through life and you think, well, you know, I'm not that way, so I wouldn't do that. Well, you're not dealing with you. So you have to deal with people where they are. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to deal with people where they are and who they are. So we go to the tables a lot of times and we deal with people based on who we are. And then we get upset because we said, I wouldn't have done that. But see, if that was me, I would have thought about it. But it's not you. Know who you're dealing with. Number 4, the win-win does not mean 50-50. A lot of times, you know, you see all the little icons with the hand shaking and you think it means 50-50. It does not. So my motive, my purpose for being at that table, in that business relationship, in that personal relationship, in that ministry, I have to know that it's not always a 50-50. So for example, I go to a lot of tables where my win at that table is strictly to help somebody else. And when that person wins, when they've accomplished what I'm there to help them do, that's a win-win. See, that's a win for me because I went to the table with the intention of helping that person. So the win-win is not always you put 50 in and I put 50% in, or you put 100% in and I put 100% in. It is going to a table and understanding your purpose for being at that table, your intention for being at that table. What is the motive of your heart for being at that table? And what it does, it helps to avoid resentment. Because if you don't define these things, it turns into something else and then you're feeling some kind of way. And sometimes you don't even know why you're feeling the way you do. You don't even know. So you have to know that it's not a 50-50. Well, I did this, I did 3 things. And I find people go into relationships and collaborations and they fall apart. You know, they end up in my office. And the reason they fall apart is because they really did not define. One person was going in for one thing, somebody else was going in for something else, and they never talked about it. The important thing is also to structure the win-win, you have to have conversation. Don't try. Now, I'm saying to you, think about what the other person might want, but you need to ask the other person, okay, you know, what is it that you're getting out of this? What's in it for you? How do you see me adding value to this situation? Because when they tell you how they see you adding value to the situation or the relationship or the business deal, then you know where their thought process is in reference to your value. So you need to know how you value yourself, but you also need to know how the other person values yourself. Sometimes we go to the table and we say, you know, I think a lot of myself. I value myself, but how does the person you're dealing with value you? Because if they don't value you to the extent that you value yourself, then your structuring of the win-win, it's not impossible, but it'll be a little harder because we need to be in the same place on certain things. The other thing is to define your boundaries in the win-win. You've gotten to a point now where you've had the discussion, you've come to the table, you know what you want, you have an idea of what the other person wants, because a lot of times in order to establish or determine options, you have to know what is it that I want and what does the other person want? What does that look like? Because the idea of how I'm going to get there may change when I come to the table. But the fact that I still need this thing doesn't change. And then you have to determine what are the things that I need and what are the things that I want. You always, they tell you when you're on a budget, you need to determine what things are needs and what things are wants. Okay, because there are some things in your life that are wants and some things that are needs. But you have to know, what is it that I need to walk away from this table with? What is the number one thing? And it can't be a list of 5 or 10 things, okay? What's the 1, 2, 3 things that I need to have, and put them in order of must that a need. And here are a list of things that I want. And determine that on that need list, You need to walk away with something that you need. Don't walk away with all your wants and not get your needs met. Because if the need is not met, it's not going to be a win-win. I remember years ago being in court, and I walked into a courtroom one day with a case. I was in litigation, and we were going to try the case that morning. And I had tried for some time to settle the case with the attorney. He just refused to settle the case or considering settling it. And we walked in that morning, and I knew before I walked in, I need to settle this case. I need him to settle this case. But how am I going to get him to settle it? And so I knew walking in that when the case began, when the trial began, and when he began to present evidence, okay, there we go. I got up and I began to give objections. And the first 5 pieces of evidence he tried to admit, I got up and objected to. And the judge, of course, sided with me on 5 straight objections. The whole situation turned around. He said, Judge, can we have a break? She said, sure. We got into the hall and he said, let's settle this case. You see, I knew what I needed when I went in, and I knew strategically what I needed to do in order to foster this win-win that he refused to come to the table and discuss. But now he wanted to discuss the win-win. And I said, sure. And this is what he said to me. He said, I had a different, when I first met you earlier, because we had met earlier, we had a deposition before that. He said, I had a different impression of you. You seem really nice. I said, I am nice. What are you talking about? He said, you seem really nice. He said, and today you showed up, you were a different person. I said, no. You see, the purpose of the deposition was to get information. The purpose today was to win. I knew what the win-win looked like. I didn't need to object to a lot of things that you said at the deposition. We were there to give information. So I appeared to you just to be nice. And you know how we do. We see people are nice and we think we take our niceness for weakness. Don't take people's niceness for weakness. And so he came in with a certain thought. And I came in with a certain thought. And we were able to establish a win-win. But I had to get him to the table first. So what I'm saying to you today is understand what the win-win looks like for you and make sure you structure the win-win. Know what you want. Don't go to a table expecting someone else to know what you want. And then when you see it's not happening the way you've defined it, you need to have the conversation. You need to have the conversation. I want you to win in your life. I want you to do well, whether it's in your business, in your ministry, or your personal life. But I want to tell you that it's not going to happen just by happenstance. It's going to happen because you're intentional. Because you're intentional and you know what it looks like. You go to the table. You know, number one, what you want. You know why you want it. You know what you need. You know what you want. And then when you go, you have some idea of what the other person might need or the other person might want. Now, when I go to the table, I'll ask the person, especially in the business relationship and in the personal relationships, what is it that you need to get out of this? We're getting ready to structure this business arrangement, this personal arrangement. What is it that you need to get out of this? And I'll listen intently for what they need. I've already thought about it before I got there, but I want to make sure that what I thought about and what they actually want and need, that it's a match. Because if we start out from the wrong place, we're going to end up in the wrong place. So I'll go to the table and I'll ask them, what is it that you need to get out of this? I'm coming knowing what I need, and I'm going to have to be able to express what it is I need. Okay. So I'm at the table. Here I am. What is it that you need? And then we can structure a win-win. Some of you on here may be in ministry and you may say, I don't know how that really applies to me because I did mention ministry. It absolutely does. When you have people in ministry or you're leading people in ministry, in corporations, in business, no matter what it is, you need to be considered the win-win. what is a win for them? Yes, it's a win that they've come and they've gotten saved and they love God. But what is it that they need to get from this place, from me, in order for it to be a win for them to be in this place? Because they can choose to be someplace else. And a lot of times we don't think about that. We think, a lot of times when we don't think win-win, there's a sense of entitlement that we have. I'm not entitled for you to be in my life. I'm not entitled for you to add value to me. I'm not entitled to that. I'm entitled to be treated as though I'm worthy, but I have to know what worthy looks like to me. So no matter what situation you're in, where you are, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whether it's ministry, try to create the win-win. I want to thank you all for being on today. I hope the win-win has helped you in some way, in some aspect. Consider the relationships you're in. Consider the business opportunities that you're in. Sometimes we want to get to point B to point C, all the way to the end. We have not seen the end from the beginning. We have not even tried to picture the end from the beginning. And so therefore, when we're in those relationships, we don't know what the win-win looks like. And so, I want to leave you with this, because I'm going to do a piece on this one day soon, because I think that is real important. I think we've overused the term servant leadership. And to me, servant leadership is what it looked like for Jesus. But I think that sometimes we've used that term in order to manipulate people and to leverage ourselves in business, in personal relationships, in ministry. And so we're going to have a talk one day about what really is servant leadership. Because if we don't really know what that is, we're easily positioned to be manipulated. And I want to leave this one last tidbit for women. Okay, men, I know you're out there, but I want to talk to the women for just a minute. Women, we have been socialized a certain way. It's our society. We have been socialized a certain way. We have been socialized to nurture. It's who we are. It's the way God made us. It's beautiful in His sight. Okay. We have been socialized, though, by society to a lot of times not come to the table to ask for what we want and to express what we want, whether it's in business, whether it's in ministry, or whether it's in relationships. And I'm saying to you today, women, that you have to find your voice, open your mouth, and come to the table and speak what you want. Doesn't matter what your personality is. I'm a D personality, right? Right, Tanya? Truth. I'm a D personality, Apostle. However, you can be an S personality. You can be an introvert. You can be an extrovert, but you have to learn to come to the table and express what it is you want. Because there is an expectation, a certain expectation of you as a woman. Sometimes, you get categorized, you get called names because you show up a certain way and you're a person who knows what they want. You ask for what you want and you have an idea of how to get there. When you are at a table, okay, I'm not even going to, if I get started here, we'll be on here all day. But I will say this. When you get to the table, understand your value, understand your worth, understand your voice, and understand your message. And understand that you have value of being at that table. Because there are some things that take place, and I'm going to talk about how do we recognize when we're being shut down at tables, even though we've been invited to the table. Now, isn't that something? We've taken all this time trying to get invited to tables, and then we get shut down, and we should be satisfied by being at the table. Oh, no. I'm not satisfied with being just at the table. I have a brain, I have a thought process, and I bring value to the table. That's another lesson. So we'll talk about that on another day, but I just want to put it in your mind because I just feel like someone in the next couple of days before I get to teach that lesson, you're going to need to remember that you do have value at the table and you're going to have to decide whether you're at the right tables. So thank you. It's great having you on today. Hi, Danette. It's great having you. Hi, Ronaldo. It's great having you. Oh, hi, Bridget. Hi, Crystal. It's great having you on today. So join me tomorrow, and I'll be posting it in the morning what we will be talking about tomorrow. But we'll continue this conversation. And maybe my conversation tomorrow will be to the women. But stay tuned. Thank you. Have a great day.